All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. It is Monday, November 6th, 2023. I'll read the land acknowledgement. The City of Thorold is situated on treaty land. The land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattawanarawg, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The City of Thorold stands with all Indigenous people, past, present, in promoting the wide stewardship of the lands in which we live. So, declaration of interest. Are there any declarations of interest?
Nope.
I see none. Okay. Adoption of the agenda. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda? Mr. Woods and Bob. All right. Can I get call all those in favor? Oppose? Or carried? Okay. The adoption of the minutes. So can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes? We have a mover, Mr. DiPaolo, and Councillor Didivitis. Call in favor. All those in favor? Oppose? Carried. So we do have some correspondence. We have some new members. On October 3rd, 2023, Council appointed 4 new members. I'd like to welcome, if I get someone's name wrong, I don't pronounce it right, just let me know. We have Sean Callahan, Cheryl Gordon, Zoran Radovanek, and Councillor Didivitis. Welcome aboard. I just see I see Councillor Didivitis here. I don't see any new faces for our committee members.
Yeah, unfortunately, the other 3 are not here, actually. One said he wasn't sure if he was going to be making it. The other one wasn't sure as well. So
okay. And I'd like to also welcome our new vice chair, Mr. Woods, sitting next to me today.
Thank you.
All right. So 6.2, we have CLK-C74 2023. The motion regarding the City of Thorold's Beaver Dams Park playground equipment was passed by Council on October 3rd, 2023. So any discussion on that? Was basically our motion to provide a swing set in the park. It looks like it was good to go. Any discussion? I see none. Okay.
Staff to get back to us.
Yeah, so Councillor Sentence, you're muted.
Yes.
So they passed the council approved the swing set. Is that just it's part of the budget? It's going to be taken care of in the spring. That's sort of the idea.
Yes.
All right.
It'll be part of the budget deliberations and to be put in there and argued out if not.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Item 6.3, CLK-C782023. We have a motion regarding the committee's recommendations for the City of Thorold's website was passed by Council on October 24th, 2023. So that's the hard work here of Jeff and Ian with the website. Do you guys have anything you want to discuss on it, or?
I don't at this moment. I don't know if Jeff does.
Jeff, do you have anything you want to add? No. Good work. I mean, it looks like we're getting things accomplished here, so that's always a good sign. Item 6.4, CLK-C79 2023. A motion regarding committee's recommendation regarding the Niagara Special Olympics was passed by Council on October 24th, 2023 with the following amendment. So, the staff be directed to request Niagara Special Olympics and Niagara Sports attend a future council meeting to present on the matter. Councillor Didivitis or Sentence, do you want to maybe just comment on it?
They'd like to get Niagara sports more involved in it, and see what they can offer since they have money towards this.
Okay. It sounds like it'd be a good idea to get them involved, just based on the fact that we own one of the, or we have one of the only facilities in obviously Ontario and Niagara, but maybe in Canada to host these events if we do get into future other events with them. So it'd be a good idea. So I'm going to move on to our committee business, unless anyone else has any further discussion on items 6.1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So James White Arena future use. This was brought up by myself. I made a couple of notes because I really didn't want to leave anything because we have discussed this numerous times already in the past. The one thing, like for reference, the council has directed staff to work on future use strategy for the James White Arena, where basically what I've heard in the council meeting that nothing was off the table, whether it could be the sale of the property, a third party source coming in to as a new user group, or demolishing, renovating. I guess everything's based on an engineering report that I believe they're going to have done, a new one. Council?
We did have I just want to say, we had somebody express interest to use that James White Arena and to pay for a turf field, and so he's bringing a plan to council. I think he's going to call Mr. Sentence and a couple other councilors about his idea. I just wanted to mention that to you.
Okay. So first, for our committee and myself and the community, I believe that the arenas should remain owned and operated by the city of Thorold. I was able to speak with 2 of our 3 user groups that would be interested in this. So I spoke with the president of Thorold Soccer, Gene Citrigno, and our senior baseball manager, Aaron McGinnis, for the Thorold Anchors. Both groups are in desperate need of off-season training facilities and are willing to present to council as their user group for use of the facility. Right now they're playing in gymnasiums like Westmount and Prince of Wales, or they're renting the facility out in Welland to do so, which to me, if we have a facility that could possibly be used for it, maybe we should be using it as well. I'm just going to elaborate because I did do my homework on this. I don't like coming to meetings unprepared, not understanding the issues. But like another user group that could possibly benefit from this is the Niagara District School Board or Thorold Secondary School. I'm sure they gladly use the facility for off-season training for their football and soccer teams as well. The common denominator of all this is the kids, which I've been seeing from Thorold Soccer because I am a coach in Thorold Soccer, likewise Mr. Woods. The kids get to a certain age in Thorold and they get up and leave because we don't have a facility up and running for them for either baseball or soccer, that they have a facility they can play their sport year round. If we bring a third party source in to own and operate, or just operate under a lease, we're gonna start losing them to other clubs, whether it's Roma or it's the Jets or it's Niagara United, because they're going to be trained by people from outside of Thorold, and then we're diminishing our minor sports league. Like we had a game yesterday in hockey in Thorold, and 3 of the kids on the other Pelham team were actually in my son's class. Like they're in his class, but they're not playing in Thorold. They're playing in Pelham. So you can see where it's going. It's a common thread. It happens every year. The kids, there's nothing for them. There's nothing here for them to develop their sports. Once summer ends, outdoor sports in Thorold's summer ends. It ends with the summer. So, I mean, we've identified a need here, and obviously there is a solution. So I've contacted a local turf supplier here located in Thorold to get an idea of the cost. So the approximate square footage of the arena is 16,000 square feet. 5mm turf on a pad is $6.50 a square foot. If you do it without the pad, it's $5. So you're looking at a high-end turf facility is $100,000 for us just to put the turf down and get things going. Batting cages run about $5,000 per cage. So what they do, I've seen in these facilities, that they have the turf down and then they have retractable nets that can drop after your soccer team has left. You can drop through it, and then you can have 10 batting cages, bullpens. You can have open field training. So you can utilize the field for soccer. You can utilize the field for baseball. And it's all done through our user groups and still owned and operated by the city of Thorold, which keeps the cost down for anyone in our minor sports system that's using the facilities. So the facility itself, like obviously we need to take into consideration the age of the building. At some point, it's going to be decommissioned, or there's going to be another engineering report saying, you know, it's fine for the purpose you're using it. The purpose they were using for right now, up until now, is city staff parking their vehicles, which, I mean, if there was a safety issue at that level, you'd think there'd be a safety issue at the level of sporting. I did read the architectural assessment. I haven't seen an engineering report. All I've seen is an architectural assessment that was part of our 2020 Parks and Rec facility manual plan that was put out by the previous committee. To me, anything that's considered an assessment is just based on assumptions, and assumptions are subjective based on who's making those assessments. So an actual engineering report coming from an engineering department would make a lot of sense. If there's been everyone refers to the building sliding, it's this, that. If someone could show me a borehole where they took soil samples, that there was a geotech engineering department that actually went in and did the analysis of the dirt to say that the building is sliding, I mean, then they got some weight to stand on. But until that, I mean, if you think about it, to do the turf facility based on the costs that I have worked out, it really only costs about $50,000 per year on a 5-year plan for the city of Thorold to own and operate and maintain, which is very reasonable considering how much money the city of Thorold actually takes in for taxes. And it'd be a great pilot project to see if something like this in the future would actually work. So like I said, I've talked to the president of Thorold Soccer. They want to collectively make a presentation to council. And I just like to get everyone else's opinion on it too, because if council's directing city staff to find the future use of the arena, then what are we doing? Because the whole time prior to 2 weeks ago, the presentations were given to us. So, yes, Mr.
I totally agree with you. I'd like to see it kept in the city's hands. That's why I brought it up to. I think it's important we get a game plan because there's a lot of outside interests. They're going to be throwing a lot of money around. I think we got to be very active, and everybody knows that we want it. And if you look at Young's Field, they're so in demand, and so many kids from Thorold go out to Welland for that. Yeah. And the Gene can use it, Janice, everybody can use it. So we have to come up with a plan and push hard and get that done. Yeah, and I totally agree with what you're saying. And the track, we can put a track around that. They can run around in there. Seniors can walk in the daytime. It can help the BIA downtown. We can host tournaments. We can do so much if we own it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Totally agree. And if they say like, well, it's going to be decommissioned in 5 years. Well, I think a $50,000 a year pilot project as a gamble really isn't that big of a deal. Like the turf facility that I got the quote from is a local facility in Thorold. So, I mean, obviously they may even give us some sort of a break based on that, but I didn't really mention to him what it was for, or who it was for. He actually was at my house doing a quote for my synthetic golf green that I'm going to be putting in the spring in the backyard. And, you know, I have other interests as well, and this was one of them. So I really wanted to dig deep. Like I said, if I'm going to come present something to our committee, I'm going to do my homework before I make a presentation. So anyone else? Yes, George, I see you with your hand up. You're muted, George.
Okay, I applaud you for going out and getting a price just so that there's sort of a ballpark on it. Just one question. What about heat for the wintertime? Is that building already insulated so that it's not freezing cold?
No, but for a facility, even with Young's facility in Welland, they're not typically insulated, or because the body temperature of 20 to 50 kids running around a facility playing soccer is enough to keep you up, right? Good thing. I thought of it as well. I mean, if the total cost from my estimate that I had was $185,000, which was top end. If you round that up to $250,000, $50,000 year over a 5-year span, you're taking into consideration $75,000 of renovations, whether that is towards some sort of spray foam insulation, some sort of paint, some sort of something. But we already have you have locker rooms, you have vending machines, there's people there already, there's, and we already have the user groups that will occupy the time. Yeah.
We could also get sponsorship, so we can find a sponsor to sponsor that place too.
Yeah.
We can have so many means of revenue we can come up with.
My thing, if the city somehow coordinates themselves with the Niagara District School Board, I'm sure if we get, like, Thorold High is right across the street. If you told them that you had a facility and you want, a donation of $200,000 and you can use that facility for your football team to do off-season training during the winter, they're looking for one anyways. Like, they're jumping at something to do this. They've been asking for McMillan Park for how long now? I mean, we're not giving them exactly what they want, but they're getting something. And I think they would entertain the idea anyways. Do we have any other questions, comments? Yes, Joe.
I wandered through there in the spring. Before we make any real super decision on it, anybody else that hasn't at least looked in there since the since all the trucks and whatnot have been put in, you should at least wander in and have a look. Unless they've changed their security, I was prepared to say, hey, I'm on Parks and Recs. I just came in to have a look. Nobody challenged me.
True. I walked in there the other day after a hockey game. There was no one there. You can walk right in. Yes, Councillor Sentence.
Yeah, so our operations center is going to be done soon, so they'll be moving out of there. They may have already started moving out of there. And the gist of the arena, which doesn't always come across sometimes, is it was the ice. The problem was putting ice in and out, and everybody knows how cold that arena was pushing the walls. So if you went along the outside walls, you could see these little contraptions they had there to measure elevation or how far it was pushing out. So hey, I'm with you guys. If we can find an indoor use for this and it doesn't have ice to contract and expand, then maybe it can happen. But that was the biggest problem with the old arena, was putting ice in it anymore. And that's why we came to that conclusion. So I'm for the indoor space as well, if we can make it work.
Yeah. And like I said, if the engineering report comes back and say that they need to decommission this building in 5 years, you really didn't spend all that much money, and you still own the facility, you still own the land, you still have the property, and you can still develop it into whatever it is you need. And if we find that the facility is a big hit, well, then what's stopping us from, like, the architectural assessment tells us that both of those buildings, we shouldn't be putting any money into them, and we should be contemplating building a new complex, which has now been absorbed by the Canada Games facility. But in another context, we could use this, to me, thinking of how many options we have for the building in its current state and what's reasonable for taxpayers, this was, to me, was the best solution. But I do see we have Cheryl. I want to say hi to Cheryl. We're going to welcome her aboard here. Welcome, Cheryl. Was there anyone else have any other questions, comments, anything regarding the James White Arena?
I'll make a comment.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I just want to say I really appreciate everyone's viewpoints and everything. It was well said. Having an indoor facility that our city could use would be amazing. I know that there's a lot of adult leagues that run late. There is a overnight indoor baseball, softball league that runs out of the Young's facility. You have games at 10:30 and 11:30 at night. Adults stay up late, especially on the weekends. Might as well use that space. We could have multiple different revenue streams. I'm not gonna lie to you, I would play a soccer game at 10 p.m. if it was down the street for me. So I'm all for it.
It's a more of a common thing too with any city you go to, whether it's Welland or it's St. Catharines, or every city has a facility like this. And it's a shame we don't, because we see it all the time. The kids leaving to go to other organized sports because we don't offer all the facilities that they need or they want. So I don't have much more to add, but if anyone else, Councillor Divias.
I just want to add to that. You're right. My wife's a principal down the street in Ferndale, and kids are supposed to come up the Thorold, and they're not coming up the Thorold this year. They're going to other high schools, and they go Mrs. D, because sports is not as important to me, but my friend plays football, so they got a turf field, so I'm going there because I want to be with my friends.
Yeah.
But that's why Thorold is so important for us to push and get this done, because we need fields. We need to be up to date like everybody else. I think we're the only high school in the whole DSPN that doesn't have a turf field, so we need to help our kids and keep our kids in our community.
Yeah. Okay. Well, looks like it's well thought. I mean, there's not really much of, not sure how we would address that to council other than a presentation. And I think that's the next sort of steps within this, because I know, as you'd mentioned and as presented in the last council meeting, that they are actively seeking presentations from user groups and how to use this facility. So I'm going to work with a couple of, with Thorold Baseball, or sorry, Thorold Soccer, and with the anchors there, and hopefully maybe even get in contact with Thorold High and just try and get everyone's sort of idea on what they think is best for it. And hopefully we can come up with a presentation for council and the shortcomings. Okay. Any other adding to that, or no? I see Jeff, you joined us.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Great conversation. Just a little bit more explanation on the process, and perhaps if you could give us some guidance about how you'd like to participate in the process, that would be great. The intention here is within the next couple of weeks, we'll be advertising a expression of interest, and we'll be asking any of the user groups how they would like to use, if they would like to use this facility, whether it's a pay-as-you-go, a longer-term rental, a lease type of arrangement. We've had a number of different proposals that we've had to say, okay, it'd be difficult for this committee and for council to deal with these without knowing who else might be interested. So the whole idea here is to find out who wants to use the facility and how they want to use it. And that'll be our short-term plan. So we'll receive these proposals. They'll be very simple. And we can either bring them back to this committee for their direction. Maybe there's some more discussion that needs to take place with one or two of the groups before we make a recommendation to council on what happens for the next couple of years till 2027. At the same time, we're looking at the long-term plan, which will be to develop terms of reference and hire a consultant to do a visioning exercise with the community to determine this exactly how this property might be used. And we'll be looking at constraints like what are the parking issues, what are the property issues, what type of land uses would be, appropriate for the site. We're going to be looking at what corporate needs are in terms of corporate space, but we're also going to be looking at affordable housing. Also going to be looking at, sorry, my granddaughter's helping me with the conversation in the back. Also going to be looking at how we're going to make some long-term decisions about what this property could be. Maybe from an economic development point of view, from a business point of view, how it's going to feed the community. It's really going to be a critical decision that this council will have to make, and hopefully make it part of their strategic plan to make those decisions in the next 2 years, even though the project may not physically get started for a couple more years. So that's kind of where we are, the two-stage process. The one that you'll be dealing with first is the expression of interest. The second will be this visioning exercise, which will determine what the end use will be for the property. And I'd like this committee to give me some input on how they'd like to be involved in either evaluating the submissions, critiquing the submissions, so that I can include your comments in my staff report to council. So if you have any thoughts that way, Mr. Chair, I'd appreciate your direction.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if maybe this is the place or not, but maybe we could talk offline. But I would definitely be interested in the future use and how we're being directed by presentations. To me, a lot of the stuff that you just mentioned sounds more expensive though than the actual price that we were just talking about for doing a turf facility at $50,000 a year. Sounds, with when you're asking consultants and you start bringing in, renderings in 3D, and to me that sounds almost as much as it costs to just put the turf down. So if we could utilize
that would be for the long-term decision, Mr. Chair. So,
understood.
In the short term, the proposals that would come in, obviously, depending on the type of use, if it's a seasonal use, maybe we don't need insulation. But
right.
If it is something we want to use over the winter or 12 months of the year, we'll have to make some investment. And that's why these proposals that come in will include some capital contribution towards the improvement of the property. If ultimately the building is going to be decommissioned and removed and rebuilt, I'm pretty sure that this council, and I'm sure I wouldn't recommend we make too much of an investment in the property. So we've got to find that balance between making the property useful for its intended use and without making too much of an investment that it'll be a throwaway cost for the municipality.
Understood. So the expression of interests have been issued to the public already, and are they going to be actively presenting to council in the very shortcoming, as in next council meeting, or is this going to be December or after in the new year?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the expression of interest will be advertised likely in the next week or two, with a closing date probably mid-December. We'll have a chance to collect the information and get back to this committee before we make any recommendations to council in January.
Okay. So so if I go offline and discuss with our user groups from Thorold Soccer to Thorold Baseball to the Niagara District School Board, and they come up with a cohesive plan that entertains everyone, and we come up with a short-term pilot project for the facility for the short term, say 3 or to 2027, to me sounds like it would be a good use of our time. So I'm definitely capable and able to do that. So, well, it's been a very good discussion. I'm glad we had it. I'm glad, Justin, that we didn't take it off of the agenda, because we really need to be a lot more open and honest, and share our thoughts while we're in this committee together, because that's what we're here for. If we don't get that ability to do it, then we don't really have a committee. So thanks everyone for the discussion there. If there's any other business with any other discussions. Yes, Mr. Peter DePaul.
Yeah, and thanks, Mr. Holman, for that, some clarity there. I would like to just make one small suggestion, that before we move forward with any procurement of services or anything else for that matter, in terms of this visionary, I would like to suggest that that's the purpose of this committee, and why we volunteered to put our hands forward, why we live in the community, and why we're here to make this to help with the vision. If city council at that time perhaps determines that our vision isn't proper, maybe they can proceed that way, but I would almost anticipate it being a little bit premature to think that we need a outside firm or person. When we sit here, I come here to volunteer my time at these meetings to help with that exact input on where I'd like to see the city of Thorold move forward. So I would just like to make sure that we pause on any type of procurement that type of that. That's just my suggestion.
Thanks, Mr. Hall. I tend to agree with you. I can see a lot of nodding heads as well. So I guess we move on to the next.
Yeah, I guess. Do you think we should maybe make like a working group to connect with them for staff comments?
We could make a working group, yeah. If you, I'll definitely go ahead and lead the working group because I do have contacts with our user groups in Thorold, the Thorold Sports. So it would be a great idea to. I've already talked with them, but get them to entertain, coming in and making those presentations. But it would be great to have them be able to make those presentations before, like Mr. DiPaolo said, we have third-party groups come in and do it for us. Because that is why we're here. That's the reason why we all signed up to do this. So through Justin to Jeff, is there a way that you can pause that, or is that just because like council made that decision that's binding, that's ready to go, right?
Through Mr. Chair, we can make the process whatever you wish. I think council relies on your advice to give them the feedback they need from the users can be provided here. They don't necessarily have to take your advice, but I think you're right. If they ask for your opinion, they don't take it, then the value of the committee is questionable. But you've done a lot of homework, and together as a group, you all represent different corners of the community. So your feedback is important. I would suggest, because the long-term strategy requires us to bring the terms of reference for this study back to council to approve before we go out. So if this group would like to see the terms of reference and provide comments so that I can include them in the staff report, I'd be happy to do that. That process might take a little bit longer because it's a little bit more complex. But for the expression of interest, if you wanted to see the list of the submissions, or you wanted to review them, I could also include your comments in my staff report moving forward as well.
Okay.
I think you want to be involved before things happen, so that council knows your comments before they have to make the decision, right? So the timing is when the submissions come in for the short-term solution, the expression of interest. If it's your desire to see them, perhaps a resolution of your committee tonight would be helpful to make sure that council knows your desire to participate in the process.
Okay. So I saw Councillor Sutton, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I agree with what everybody's saying. Just keep in mind, we're not the only committee, and there are other committees that are coming not at us, sorry, that's the wrong word, but are expressing interest in affordable housing, which is a big issue in Thorold and everywhere else, and a couple other of hybrid options where we keep the bottom and build on top. And there's a lot of different options. So it's not that this committee's ideas are being dispelled or not looked at. There's other people, could be other councillors whose interest might be in another way. So we're just trying to get we're trying to get all the information we can from every angle and then make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you. So I guess we would have to, Justin, would we have to put a motion forward to be involved, as Mr. Holman was saying, about being part of the process?
It won't hurt as long as it doesn't contradict what council has already decided, which it shouldn't.
Okay.
You can put a motion to the effect of that the short-term proposals be brought to this committee first before going to council for review or something to that effect.
Okay. Is there anything else? Do anyone want to add to the motion? Because I'm having a hard time trying to word it myself. Yes, Peter.
Yeah, I think the motion, what I would like to maybe put forward is that certainly this committee and any other interested committee within the city of Thorold be given the opportunity to review any expression of interest for the property. I think this committee is open to anything from all of our partner user groups and partner committees, and I think we should make that not only available to us, but any like Councillor Senton said, there's cross interest and shared interest in this opportunity, and I think I'd like my motion to say that any committee that wants it can be informed and should be readily accessing the expression of interests that is going out there. And then for us to all provide input back to City Council on it, which is what they like, and then they can make the process and take steps as they deem fit.
Yeah, I mean, we could almost, as Mr. Woods was saying about creating a user group or a working group, we can involve members of other committees in that working group. I'm not sure how we would cross from one to another. Justin, you have an...
So right now, in the short term, it might be good to focus on what council has decided about getting user groups to use the facility for the pre-2027 time frame. So it might be good to focus on that first, and then the further discussion past 2027 with terms of reference coming and so on could be something else afterwards as well.
Okay. All right. Yes, Joe, you have your hand up.
Excuse me. I agree with Councillor Sentence. I'm on this committee and another board, both of which might be interested in at least seeing what the expressions of interest are. In fact, I wouldn't mind getting a copy of whatever you're putting out to present to the board and for my reference to this with this committee.
Yeah.
Other than that, I would support the motion.
Right. Sounds like everyone's in agreement. So should we put the motion on the floor? I'm sure, Justin, you have that worded. All right. Okay, so if we put the motion on the floor to be in full correspondence with council while they go through the request for information meetings, can I get a mover and a seconder for it? We have a mover and a seconder, and all in favor? Oppose? That will carry. Thank you. So let's move on to our next bit of committee business here, where we have 7.2 is the 2024 committee meeting schedule. So I think Justin's going to take the screen here for us. Yes.
Yeah, so it's just on screen, the proposed schedule for next year, which is mimicking what it was for this year. Meeting every month, except for the summer, July and August, like you did this year. It'd be the first Monday, except for a few exceptions of January, April, and September. It'd be the second of the month due to holidays and such.
Okay. Can we get a mover and a seconder to adopt the 2024 committee schedule? Where Mr. Woods and Councillor De Vias. Okay, all those in favor? All opposed? That's carried. Okay. So a little roundtable discussion. Seems like we just had it. Yes, Justin.
Marcia has her hand up for you.
Oh, Marcia. I didn't see.
Hi, hi everybody. Sorry, September 9th is Labor Day that you guys have on your agenda for a meeting.
I think we did push it to the Tuesday this year.
Yeah, sorry, I was just looking at it and adding it to my calendar, and it shows up as Labor Day.
I thought Labor Day was the second.
September 9th?
Yeah.
Is it not? My calendar shows that it's the Monday. Am I wrong?
I'm just going to double check because I thought it was on the 2nd. It says it's September 2nd is Labor Day.
Oh, maybe my thing's wrong. I'm just going. I have a desk. I have still paper calendars.
Okay, yeah. September 2nd is Labor Day.
Okay, I apologize. I go by the other one. Sorry.
No problem, Marcia. Joe, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, just in the roundtable discussion. I've got a few things to say from the subcommittee of this committee that I'm on, the Lake Gibson Task Force. First of all, we're short a couple of members, if anybody has any interest. Having said, that's the only subcommittee that I'm aware of a standing committee, that you actually have to go through city council to get appointed. And part of the reason for that is for 30 odd years, we were a standalone task force that did not directly report to this committee. Nor do we have a mandate to report to this committee, nor does this committee have a rule that says that we have to. This is a little bit of a conundrum that really has to be sorted out at some point by staff. The general thought from the committee or from the task group is that we revert to a standalone task group, if for no other reason that at some point some of the things that we're planning on doing may actually come into conflict with this committee. We have a couple of places where things overlap, like the Melchport Park, we consider to be in the purview of the Lake Gibson Task Force. The Frog Pond. Oh, a minor thing back to the members. It's also the only subcommittee that I'm aware of that has members on a subcommittee that aren't members of the main committee, which is one of the reasons that we're considering, some of us, of asking council to put us back in the task group. You know, no offense to this committee, of course, but to put us back as an independent. Well, we never were a committee, we were always a task group. I'm just letting you know this. I've spoken informally to a couple of the other people. Part of our problem right now is that, as many of you may be aware, Tony Vandermaas, who was our chair for some time, quite a while actually, retired from almost everything. And Fred Neal is our interim chair, although we don't have another meeting until December to actually elect a chair. Okay, I know I'm rambling. I hope and I don't have official, since there hasn't been a meeting since this all happened, I don't have official sanction to even tell you all this stuff, but you should be aware of it. If you have any questions to my ramble, please ask.
Open the floor to anyone with any questions regarding the Lake Gibson subcommittee. So are you just short members right now? Like how many members are the committee?
We're short 2 members, Tony Vandermaas, and we were short 1 other member. Now, it's a consensus informally that anybody that can find anybody interested in coming onto our committee is more than welcome to present them. And since we have a regrettably small number of people within the city that are interested in getting on really anything, that's one of the reasons that I'm putting it out to anybody that's not, and there are a couple of people that are already on it here that are interested. But as I say, technically, I believe you still have to apply to council, which, as I say, seems kind of silly since it's a subcommittee of this committee. But that's something I'm going to be chatting with staff about during the week.
Okay.
Okay, hopefully I haven't opened up a whole big can of worms. I'm just letting you know that it's
Well, we'll know
we've
how,
got kind of a funny situation.
we'll know how big the can is come your December meeting.
I'll be chatting with Fred, who, as I say, is our interim chair at some point between now and then. And if I can get a clarification from staff, I will fire out an email to everybody on here. Now, if it turns out that it's totally open, then anybody who wants to apply from anywhere within the city would apply, and then it's up to council to apply to appoint members. If you follow what I'm saying. That's part of the conundrum.
Yeah, go ahead, Ian.
All right, Joe. Yeah, it sounds pretty good, Joe. I think you should do is contact Fred, your interim, and get him to contact your member of the city who you speak with. If you're a subcommittee of the Parks and Recs, then you can put a motion in for us to put out to get members for you. But if you just bring information to us, if you still have to apply to council, then I suggest your interim chair should go to council and make a motion to broadcast that. I think that should be the next step so that it goes out before your next meeting.
I'll see what I can do. Fred's actually in Myrtle Beach for the month. But I can contact him like this. It's part of our general issue is that we've got a rather large budget towards seeing what we're going to do with the whole Lake Gibson corridor and even defining what that is, which I can't find anybody that actually knows whether, like, without going into details, like I say, it's a large budget. And if we're a subcommittee and it doesn't get spent, theoretically, if this committee changed a whole bunch of members, they could move the budget to someplace else. But as I say, we were when we got the various grants, we were an independent task force. I'm speaking as a task force member, not a member of this committee. Are you following it? I'm not putting this really well, but it's something that was suggested to me that I at least let you know that we, as I say, bit of a conundrum. And that's all I've got to say, unless anybody's got any other questions, which I'll try to answer.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Joel, but wasn't part of the Lake Gibson or the corridor, was it, you guys were doing a survey of the land? Was that part of it? To determine what properties are whose and what they're going to use the properties for regarding development, or is that
amongst other things? Yes, yeah, that was sort of the first phase of where we're going to spend some of our money mapping and.
Yeah, because I remember everyone was really interested in understanding what was owned by the city, what was owned, what's not. That was
yeah, and at the last meeting we were at, there's a lot of question as to you know what we would consider, like the staff was talking about. Well, are you talking about the drainage area for Lake Gibson? I said, no, we're not talking about the drainage area, because if we were talking that, we'd go at least as far as Highway 58, and we've got no interest in going there. But on the other hand, we are interested in potentially part of the project going as far as down to Allenburg along the canal. And we've also got no real interest at this stage of any property that's on the other side of the canal, which if there was no canal would be connected. So anyway,
Well,
there you go.
thanks, Joe. Yeah, I'm still, there's probably,
Sorry.
no, go ahead there, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's we're at such an early stage that we can't, you know, it's not that I won't tell you, it's this I can't really explain to you exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
Aside from the fact that we have requested that staff let us know if there's anybody that if any applications for zoning changes or building permits or that type of thing goes in there, and we have tentatively set up for to have some mapping done and to find out, as you said, who owns what. But you know, there's so many different properties, and there's so many governmental and quasi-governmental agencies that own little bits and pieces up in there that it's a real dog's breakfast. So
I was going to say,
even if we do become independent again, I would be more than happy, as would Fred, to let this committee know what we're doing at any time.
thanks, Joe. Myself, I like the interest in understanding the property, the ownerships, and I'm sure once that is done and brought to light, the rest of the city, that you'll get a lot of people showing more interest in what's going to be done with that property, because it's well sought after, I would say.
Oh yeah. We've got Hydro, the
Right.
canal, Bell, 2 or 3 other
Yeah.
quasi-governmental agencies. And anyway,
Okay.
I'm, as I say, I'm rambling and I'm done. I didn't make any real notes. It just,
That's why it's an open discussion, a round table, Joe. All right. Thank you. Any further discussions for our round table? Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
I just have one I'm just curious. Recently, the city of Thorold and the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority did a tree planting activity. I wasn't aware of that, and it came to me a little bit late, so I wasn't able to register. Did that come to our attention at all? Did anybody on this committee know that? And so if the city of Thorold knows that, how is it that we were not even invited or knew about it, or like somebody donated approximately 300 trees? I would have loved to go out there and plant some trees. This is the Parks and Recreation and Trails Committee. And so, Justin, I don't know, maybe if somebody could explain to me, again, it almost feels like we're getting submarined, and I'll put that in quotes, but like, should we not have known about that, or am I missing the boat here?
I tend to agree with you, but go ahead.
So I know
Justin.
that originally came to council, through council, that the trees came in, and then they approved to get the trees. I know the Environment Committee talked about it, that the trees were being planted at the cemetery. And I know it was promoted through our website and other socials that this was happening, and they were calling for volunteers. But that's all I have right now about that.
Okay. It's good. I'm really happy with it. I just would have loved to know about it. And so I don't know. I missed it totally. So probably entirely my fault, but being a member of this committee, I thought I would have got a note or something on it.
You would think it would be a part of our correspondence, like how we receive correspondence
Right.
about other items on
I'm
our
not
agenda.
complaining that it happened. I'm just saying it would be great to be informed. Don't get me wrong. It'd be great to, just so we could know what's happening. And Mr. Atkinson is looking for volunteers. There's 30 people. It looks like they went to plant trees, so maybe he can get somebody there if he wants. But I like, if somebody's passing around minutes and it seems to cross the purview of what we're doing here, great.
Yeah.
That would be nice to know. So I don't know who's responsible for that, but I just want to make sure that we get advised in the future if possible, just because we're all here to help with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I love the trees.
Thanks, Peter. Justin, how would we go about that?
I can try to add that to the next one. I just thought it was covered with environment. I wasn't really sure, and also I wasn't sure how the cemetery fell under, if it fell exactly under parks with that or not, but I can definitely put that as a correspondence item if that connects again.
Okay. 'Cause I think they're probably going to do something similar come springtime, right? It's going to be more of a year, I would say, maybe not a yearly thing, but
Well, the
by the
trees,
sounds of it.
the trees that they got, that was the 2 plantings I think that were donated.
Yep.
Those were the 2 plantings. I think that's all done as far as I understand.
Yeah, go ahead.
And just a further comment on what you said, Peter, I really enjoyed that. Yeah, something like that. Like, I think volunteerism is part of recreation. So if anything does come across anybody's eyes while you're out and about, we are getting to that part of the year where people are going to be looking for help. I think that you should be able to email the group, and we should be able to either hold a emergency meeting to present that, to put a motion into council. We do have another meeting in December, so for like anything to do with Christmas or the holidays, anything volunteering wise, I think should come across our committee's eyes at least. Talking about that, I know that the Thorold Community Activities Group is looking for volunteers for their Santa Claus Parade, which is on November 25th. So they're looking for people to collect, I think it's hats and toques, as well as food donations, so that they need a lot of walkers to walk behind their float. So that's the kind of things that I think should be promoted everywhere on all the Thorold socials, as well as through all of our committees. So if we can keep doing that, it'd be great.
Thanks, Ian. Do we have any further discussions? Well, what seemed like a very short agenda today turned into quite a long discussion of a meeting. Very well thought out and very well presented. So thanks, everyone. Our next meeting will be held December 4th, 2023. And being there's no further business, the meeting will